All right, we're recording and we are back with another dilemma. I'm Emma
And I'm Brian
Byrne,
Burns.
and today we're going to be talking a little bit about how to conquer your territory in a new role. So, this is kind of coming from two different perspectives recently in new roles. I'm currently a business development rep.
And I'm a sales executive for
Yeah.
enterprise accounts.
Yep. And I have just entered kind of like the HCM world, and you're doing more, if you want to.
Uh, yeah, it's contingent workforce management, essentially, solutions.
Yeah, so it's two different industries, but we've had some like recent experiences with just trying to get ramped up, learn the new roles, how to communicate, how to kind of get into.
How to get your arms around the territory, because we both have new territories, we have new accounts that we're working with. And, how do you attack that? How do you understand what you have so that you can make the best use of your time?
Exactly. So, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's really four areas that you need to look at when you're attacking your territory and getting your arms around what you have. The first is kind of understanding if you have prospects versus clients and how many of each, what the makeup is around that, the size of the accounts, the geography, and then what solutions those accounts have. And so when it comes to prospects versus clients, what is typically the case, it's not always the case, but typically you'll have, at least in my role, it's majority prospects. There's usually somebody that has either majority clients or majority prospects, right?
There are clients, people who are like their current customers, right?
Clients are current customers. Yeah, they're already doing business with your company.
Right. And they can
But
either be like add-ons or you're trying to.
yeah, but many times, like even a prospect rep like myself has a handful of existing clients that they work with. And those clients are already doing business with you, but they may not have all of your solutions. They probably don't. There's always something you can sell them. So the idea is to actually treat those like prospects and understand what they have. It's going to be a little easier to get in the door and get an appointment because they're already doing business with you.
Right.
But they may also already have a preconceived notion about what you can and can't do for them. So there might be some educating involved. And so you're going to attack those two different types of accounts a little bit differently. So you just want to know what you have, how many of each that you have, and then what products they have. So if they have, usually there's different categories. Like in my case, there's the vendor management solution. There's a managed service provider solution. There's direct source and total talent and intelligence. Those are kind of like our key
And
core products. And then we also do employer of record and SOW and a few other things. But
And for
um,
mine, it's payroll, timekeeping, and HR. And then for everything else, like say someone wants your product, that's where like partnerships come on and
yeah,
where you can kind of work with different people, especially because we are partners, right?
yeah, we are.
Companies are partners.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how you can win deals is by bringing those people in and make it a really seamless process for the prospect to go, okay, here's what I'm getting, and they're all in one place. But
Yeah.
just
For
different companies.
for example, I might have a company that's just using our technology, the vendor management system, a solution for managing their contingent workforce. The employee and contingent means employees that are not full time, like they're part time or they're temporary. They are maybe they're 1099 employees, maybe they're staff augmentation or independent contractors, and those are kind of some of the categories that they could fall in. Well, they manage those people, they have them clock in and out, they actually look for new people through the software that we sell. Well, that might be one solution that they have, but maybe they want us to be their employer of record as well for those employees. or for a group of those employees. In that case, we would, we would be able to offer them by our partner through our partnership with Ceridian. We can offer them the Dayforce wallet, so they can, their employees, a lot of times contingent workers want to get paid right away, or they want to be able to get, the money that they've earned
Mhm.
after they've earned it. So the Dayforce wallet allows them to do that. So that's kind of where our partnership comes in with Ceridian. And that might be an area where, like, if I have a prospect, or I'm sorry, a client that already has our vendor management system, I might, talk to them about letting us be the employer of record,
Yeah.
or maybe
And
the
that,
managed service provider to help them manage that
right.
technology and so forth.
And that was kind of my first one, was just like, learn everyone in the company what your product, like what your product is, what you can offer the prospect, but
Mhm.
also who can help you in the process of trying to sell to them. So yes, learn their roles, whether they're a current customer or someone who isn't a current customer, but is, searching for your product or whatever.
In
Um,
that case, I want to know who they are using. What vendor are they using for the solutions that I sell?
Right. But learn
So
everything about them and everyone in the company that can help you in the process, if that makes sense. Learn your
yes,
connections. So
that's right.
learn your
Understand
partners.
understand who your partners are that can help you either get in the door. Like your company, Ceridian, might already have a relationship with them on the full-time employee side. And so you're one of your reps might be able to help me get in the door, and vice versa. And we don't
For
compete.
example, two of my current prospects are Sendoso and ZoomInfo. So they're using someone else, but we use
They're,
Sendoso.
you're a customer of theirs, but they're not a customer of yours.
Exactly. But we
Interesting.
have different people that we use to get more information on the product and how we can best use it. And you just never know how those relationships can go up the line. And they're like, we love Ceridian because they're really awesome to work with or whatever. Because we've done, different calls with them just to learn about how we can best use their service. So and it's also a way to outreach, like, hey, we currently use you, I think we could benefit from this partnership, let me tell you how, type of thing. So
Yeah, so knowing those things it helps you to gain access, right?
yeah,
Because you can find contacts that might be more open to taking a call, even though they may not be the contact that's going to buy from you, but they could
right.
help become a coach or direct you to the right people, and that type of thing. The second category, or the second area that I like to look at when I'm analyzing my territory, is geography. Typically, you'll have some sort of geography. It might be real local. It might be spread out over multiple states. I remember I had a geography one time that was, I believe, 9 states. And so, you know, it's hard to manage that big of a geography, because you could end up just flying around a lot if
Yeah.
you're not careful. So you really want to qualify your opportunities, understand where your opportunities, or where your accounts are located. So that way, let's say I do have a meeting with a company in another state, or even local. I want to know what other accounts that I have that are near there. Or even one of my coworkers might have accounts near there, and maybe I can drop in on their behalf, or in my case, my accounts, I'd drop in on them, and or call them ahead of time and say, hey, I'm going to be in your area. I'm literally going to be in your area, and I'd like to drop in and introduce myself, or drop something by for you. Create a reason to meet them. But if you don't know where your accounts are, then if you don't have a good understanding of sort of where those clusters are, then you're not going to do as good a job at doing that. And I think it can be very effective. And also, budgets are tight right now. Everybody's kind of feeling it.
Yeah.
Companies are cutting back on spending. So if I am going to make that flight, then I want to make it as useful as possible. So fly into an area, or even driving into an area, maybe they're in Northern California, or maybe, from me, I live in Southern California, and even getting to LA can take hours. And so if I'm going to drive hours, I might want to, plan it so that I can also drop in on another company that's that's near there. And, book 2 appointments or 3 appointments instead of just 1.
And that doesn't necessarily apply to my role. However, it's very useful because we're the ones sending the invitations, getting them to go to insights. People will buy for a reason. If you give them a good enough reason, then they're not going to turn you down. And so for a lot of these big events or campaigns we're doing, we're asking people to spend their time, spend their money to come and be with us for a period of time.
Yeah,
And so,
couple days sometimes, right?
yeah, and you have to make it worth it. So you have to prepare this email that's like, this is why this is going to put value towards your money. But knowing your geography is a lot easier when the event takes place in the same place like all these people live, so and it's different because their headquarters could be in Utah, but that person could be located in Arizona. Your event's held in Arizona. You need to learn, where everything is, where people are situated. So yeah, when
because then
those two things, that should be
so
the
then
first thing you do.
Yeah, and those are things that it gives you options, right? So if they don't live in the geography, you've got two choices. You can offer to fly them there for that event, or you can offer them the virtual option, because typically events nowadays have a virtual component. So knowing where they are helps you kind of pre-think what you're going to do. Is this a client or prospect worth spending the money on the plane fare, or is it one I should just offer? You've got to know what the opportunity is. So knowing the geography helps you, right? So you can kind of start to map that out and see where the clusters of accounts are, where you can even track where people are working from, because like you said, their headquarters might be one area, but they're working in from a different office or from home. And that can make a lot of difference in your talk track.
And I would also say too, like, work harder, not smarter. And if you have those big accounts that are, or
I
sorry,
think you got that backwards, Emma. Sometimes we
harder.
do work harder and not smarter, right?
We do, but work smarter, not harder, and look at the big accounts that might be out of state, so you know that it's worth your company's money to fly them there. Don't work harder. Work smarter.
Yeah, work smart.
Maybe don't go towards.
Or work smart and hard. How about that?
Work both. Exactly. Work both realms. But yeah, maybe focus on the larger companies that are a little bit further away from the event when you're trying to get them to go very eagerly, knowing that there's a possibility you might have to pay for their flight. But it's going to add more peplum. So
more sales dollars, right? So the next thing that I already touched on, and we talked a little bit about, is understanding what they have. And that can be really hard. If they're an existing customer, obviously that's a little easier to know what products they have. But like I mentioned, maybe they're using us for a vendor management solution, but they don't have us for some of these other things. So who are they using? What is the competitor in that situation, and why are they using them? And they may not realize that you can do some of those other things. They may know, they may have reasons for not using you for things, but understanding what that is the first thing you have to do, is understand who they're using for all the different things that you sell, whether it's you or someone else.
Should we share secrets as to how we find this out without getting them on the phone? I'm sure everyone.
How do you find out without having to call them and do that? It's tough.
First, go to their careers page and you look in the search bar, and you can sometimes tell. It might be a little bit more difficult with some smaller companies that might be working in-house, or that doesn't display it, but usually it'll tell you in the search bar of who they're on.
For you, for your product, for the
sorry,
talent.
Probably doesn't
talent
apply to you guys.
Yeah, for talent management, right? What the recruiting tool is. You can understand what that is. And sometimes there's clues like that, with solutions by looking on their website and seeing if there's a little bit of information. Sometimes you can even, if it's a public company or a large company that does an RFP, sometimes that's available online. You
It's
can,
public information.
yeah, you can do a search and see what they're using. But typically it just comes down to asking somebody, and that's where that coach can come in. Maybe it's not the buyer, but it's somebody that is friendly, that you can talk to within the company, that can tell you information.
Yeah, and
It's
it
not
doesn't, normally
harmful.
we'll target the C-level directors, whatever, but sometimes if you just call like a manager or even someone that works there, like just find anyone to get in touch with and just be like, hey, like who do you guys use? Just out of curiosity, normally they'll tell you, and that can tell you so much about a company and maybe when they might be looking, like it,
Right.
it can tell you a lot. And also
Yep.
how to target them, how to phrase your wording.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, deciding which solutions to sort of position within the company, because you don't want to go after something that, let's say like in my situation, a lot of companies are using, you know, Workday for their HR solution and for their, for other things within the company. And then in addition to that, they're using their, it's called Vendly. It's a product that handles the contingent workforce as well.
Yeah.
And
And that's where the
so,
partnership comes in.
yeah, so if they've been using both of those together for a long time, it might not even be something worth going after, because they're happy with it. But um, then you might target a different solution that you're selling them.
Right.
Just an example.
I have another one
Okay.
about getting started. I kind of mentioned this prior, but it's like I said, like learning all your products that you offer, because I mean payroll, timekeeping, and HR are all separate, but we also have unique things like Dayforce Wallet. And though that goes hand in hand with payroll, it like for some reason it is a game changer for a lot of companies, and not for some reason, for a good one. But
Yeah.
all that to say, it's just really important to learn about all your products. At least for me,
Yeah.
it's one solution, but three different things we can do for a company.
Primary components. Yeah. And I think we talked about this in a different on another podcast, but the basics that I think a lot of salespeople have gotten away, or sales organizations have gotten away from, is just understanding the basics, which in my opinion is what is the product, what it is, right? What it does, and then what it means. So what does that mean to the customer? So
Yeah.
for that example, right? Dayforce Wallet, what is it? It's payroll, right? But
It's done a little
um,
bit differently. You get paid every single day.
you
So
you could essentially get paid every day if you wanted to. You don't have to, but
you
you
don't have
could take out your paycheck every day and there's no cost, right?
right. It
So
calculates the taxes, the fees, everything. So for people who have emergency circumstances, for example, me, I had to, get my car fixed because it got,
yeah,
well, fender. I could have easily pulled out that money immediately if I needed to,
right.
because it was available to me. And for a lot of companies, it's every 2 weeks, or like you, it's every 1 week. But
Yeah,
there's a lot of employees who want that in case of emergencies, or just because it's their money. If they want their money in
right.
an
So
instant,
that's what it is and what it does, right? And what does
and
that
what
mean
it
to
means, it means that they have a better chance of reaching out to these high valued people that they want to be on their team, and they have a better chance. I don't know how to phrase this, but
Attracting and retaining
Yes,
top
thank
talent.
you. Attracting and retaining, that's a simple way to put it. I couldn't think of the words, but yes, attracting and retaining top talent because it's another benefit that they can offer their employees.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know,
It's something that
especially
doesn't cost them a dime.
right, especially younger generation, right?
Yeah.
It seems ridiculous to them that they'd have to wait 2 weeks to get a paycheck,
Right.
right? So why not make it available to
And for
them?
me, working at a, little pizza shop when I was 16, I used to actually have to take my check, to the bank when they were open or, I could go through the little system, but it seemed like a process. Like I didn't exactly get it 2 weeks. It was like 2 weeks and whenever I could pick it up and then take it to the bank. And, it's a
Yep.
transaction. So that's why I feel so like passionately about it. 'Cause I'm like, this is so cool. Like everyone's experienced having to cash a check at one point, and it's just not fun. It's not
Right.
easy. So
So that's one component, one feature of the products that you sell.
yeah,
And so understanding that those three things does means about all your key products, solutions, whatever that is, I think is critical so that as you do go about marketing, um, and we'll cover, marketing, gaining access, I think in another podcast, but this is kind of getting your arms around the territory, understanding what you have, understanding, going through. So then once you have those four things understood, and in most cases, most companies have some sort of a client database, right? A CRM tool like Salesforce. Not all companies, and if you don't, you'll have to create your own, right? Spreadsheets and whatever. But then you're going to go through and see what kind of data you have on those employees or on those companies. Like, you're going to want to know in your case, the CFO, the CHRO, the HR, head of HR, and maybe one below, like HR director, the head of payroll, whoever that might be, a payroll manager, for example, and the CEO. And in my case, there's other different contacts that I need. There's people that are actually in charge of contingent workforce procurement, and that's kind
wow.
of a role that I didn't even realize existed until I came here. And so understanding who those people are, and most of the time we also are working with the CHRO and chief revenue or chief HR officer, and sometimes the CFO, and it just really varies. But you need to look in your database and see what contacts you have. Do you have those 4 or 5 key contacts for every account? And if you don't, then you got to go out to either use tools like Zoom Info, or do your own research, or make phone calls and find out what you can find out, and make sure that you have information on all those accounts. Because you could do a lot of marketing, make a lot of marketing effort to contacts that don't exist anymore, or
So cleaning.
companies that
When you enter a new territory or in a new role, you want to make sure you get some fresh contacts in there, clean the ones that you're working on, spend some time to get to know the account you're working on. So then when you are marketing to them, when you are reaching out to them, you have better luck with actually connecting with someone, because that's the goal, not
Yep.
just getting touches in, not just making phone calls to make phone calls, but to really get like enveloped in the role.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So understand what you have, and then understand what you don't have that you need to fill in and that you need to do the research on. And in the beginning, you might spend a larger chunk of your day doing research on the accounts, so you understand what you have, and then later you can start reaching out to them, or spend more time reaching out to them, because you'll have the information to do that with. And then as you go, hopefully you're just updating it rather than having to really research it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is kind of understanding what each of the companies do, have a tertiary understanding of what they do. Have
What
an under
what industry they're in? Is it manufacturing? Is it well, manufacturing and construction is kind of the same thing, but is it healthcare? Like what industry are they in? Because it gives you a better opportunity of, again, connecting with them if you know what they're looking for, like what kind of employees they have.
Yes,
All of that.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point. And something I think I sort of skipped over that is also critical is understanding the size, right? Because
Yes.
typically when we're given a territory, for example, you know, it'll be based on the employee size. Like, you know, I think at Ceridian when I was there, it was, you know, companies with 2,500 to 10,000 employees or something like
Yeah.
that. And then there's other people have different territories that are you know different size companies, but here it's based on revenue, the amount of revenue that they have, not the number of employees. So you need to understand that, you know, what is it that makes up your territory? Is it based on revenue or employee count or some other metric? And then you need to find out if that's accurate, right?
Right.
So
Because
because you don't want to put a lot of effort. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I was gonna say exactly. Like you don't want to be spending your time on an account that's not yours because really you're just preparing it for the next guy, which is in no means bad, but again, it takes away time. You could be doing like thoughtful, purposeful prospecting.
Correct. Yep, that's exactly right. Yeah. So it's better to do a little bit of work up front and understand what you've got so that way you're not spinning your wheels on an account that maybe got acquired by somebody and no longer exists, or maybe
I've done a few of
they
those this week.
yeah, or maybe they had to do mass layoffs and now they're not in your territory anymore. They don't
Yeah.
have the right employee count or revenue, or maybe they've grown and now it should be handed off to somebody else. So understanding what that is and making sure that you've got that information accurate within your tool or database.
Yep.
Those
Well,
are the,
I think we
I
covered
guess,
it all, but do you want to just go over the four, name them off really fast that you had?
yeah. So it's understanding whether you have prospects or clients or some combination of both, and which accounts are you know fall in those categories.
Yeah.
Understand their size, whether that's employee count or revenue or some other metric that that determines your territory and what you know
Yep.
whether or not you should be working them, and then that also, by the way, helps you to understand what solutions might be best for them because sometimes a larger account requires a different type of solution, that type of thing. Um, and then their geography, understanding where they're clustered, where the majority of your accounts are, where some of those outliers are, so that you can make the best use of your travel and that type of thing. And then understanding what they have, what solutions they have, whether they're clients and they have some of yours, but not all of yours, or if they're just a straight prospect, what vendors are they using for the things that you sell?
Yep. So that's our advice. Take it or leave it. Just kidding. But I think we learned a lot from each other, and it's helped me start to be successful in my role. I'm just getting ramped up, but I think I've, obviously learned a lot from what you've done in the past, and it's allowed me to put in place some of those things, and then also provide some insight as how to
Yeah.
get started.
Well, and you mentioned something earlier. I think we could add a fifth one on there, and that's partnerships, right? Whether it's an internal partner within the company that you work for that might have a relationship with them because they have contacts within the company that are
Yeah.
partnering with them, or maybe it's an external company that has a partnership that you could leverage to gain access or to get information or that type of thing. So I would say the fifth thing would be to understand what partners might be able to help you gain access or get information to those accounts.
Yes. Understanding your connections.
Yes.
Okay, so I think we're gonna wrap it up and say a fun fact.
A fun fact.
So Halloween is coming up. What
Okay.
is your least favorite and your favorite type of candy?
Oh
Because
boy.
when you get those big, huge bags and you're scrummaging through your kids' candy and offering them money or, their whole candy bag. So you're not having to pay for the.
So I'm a big fan of like the chocolate candies. So, whether and Reese's, anything with peanut butter or chocolate. So Reese's cups, Kit Kats, Twix, Milky Way, any of those kind of
I
M&Ms
can't. That's like
overall.
Babe Ruth. You get one of those and it's like your night's ruined.
Which one?
You get Milky Way or Babe Ruth and your whole night is ruined. Like anyone that brings that to a party, it's like a payday bar. Like who eats paydays?
Some people like them.
Whatever. It's an opinion.
Okay, so my
Favorite.
least favorite would be like I don't know, black licorice, or I'm not a big fan of like the sour candies.
Yeah.
I like more of the chocolate stuff. What are those, candy corn? That's
Yeah.
whatever. What about you?
I would say my favorite, I love getting like Twizzlers in my candy
I'll
bag.
give you that.
I
Yeah.
love Laffy Taffies. I'm a really big fan of like I love Twix. This is quite a few, but I am a big chocolate girl. It's just very specific. I don't like Babe Ruth and Milky Ways. Not a fan. Least favorite, it has to be like Nerds and Smarties, or like there's another one. It's like the drops. It's like little like gummy drops, and they just never. They taste like medicine. So
Right. I
those are
agree
my
with you.
least favorite.
Yeah, those are the ones that
You
sit
know,
in the
like
bag.
different categories. Like if I went least favorite to favorite chocolate, it would be easier, and then sour candy would be easier because I love like Sour Patch Kids. But yeah, on the spectrum of whatever candy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Okay.
for joining me today. I think it was a really great discussion. I feel very like passionate about this, so it was like really easy. Time just like flew.
Yeah.
But again, thank you, and I'll see you next week for another
Sounds good.
dilemma.
Thanks, Emma.
Bye.